So for this problem, there isn't some sort of just procedure you can follow every time to find a problem like this. It's not like I can say, okay, take this first line and add it to the second one and you got the answer, right? They're all different. But what we do know is that this diagram here, this diagram has 4 different lines on it. And each of those lines contains information from which I can create an equation. So that top line tells me about TU, the distance between point T and point U. The second line tells me about the distance between S and V, the entire line. The third line segment talks about the difference between T and V. And the fourth one takes us from S to U. So let me pause there and just see, does everybody understand that just from this diagram, how this top line takes us from T to U, tells us information about that. The next one, SV, the next one is TV, and the next one is SU. Any questions? Okay, great. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna figure out all the different segments that make up those. So for example, the top line is just that purple piece, TU. So I can create an equation and say that TU, that purple piece, equals 2x plus 28. Where did 2x plus 28 come from? It's right on my diagram. Okay. The next one, SV, is actually made up of 3 segments. It's made up of ST, which I'll put in red. It's made up of TU, I'll put in purple again. And it's made up of UV, which I'll put in yellow. And if I add all 3 of these together, that gets me 18, again, from my diagram. So now I've created an equation for the first line, the top line of my diagram, and I've created an equation for the second line of my diagram, and I'm going to do it for the last 2. TV is made up of 2 sections, a purple TU and a yellow UV, and together those 2 add up to 2x plus 35. And the final equation that I can use for my segment addition postulate is SU is going to be the combination of ST, that red part, and TU, that purple part. And when I add them together, I get x plus 23. Okay, so let me pause here for a second and ask, does anyone have any questions about how I came up with these equations here, that this purple piece is 2x plus 28, and yet this red plus the purple is x plus 23? Any questions on where we are so far? All right, great. So the next piece is the hard piece. Everything we've done so far is procedural. You can always just, no matter what the problem is, you can always break it up into its individual pieces and come up with equations. But now this last step, or this next step, excuse me, is the hardest piece, because I have to sort of logically look at it and try to figure out, how can I use these equations that I've created to put them all together to come up with some sort of big master equation that then I can solve. And so to do that, if I just look at this one, what I can see visually is that if I take that fourth line, the one on the very bottom, that's the red plus the purple. If I added that fourth line right here on the bottom, if I add that one to the third line, the one right up above it, so SU to TV, SU, excuse me, plus TV, then I'm gonna have this entire line, right? I've got the red, the purple, and the yellow, except I have double purple, right? Over here, I've got 1 red, 2 purples, and a yellow. So if I wanted just this entire line, SV, I'm double counting purple here. So I could subtract out the top line, which is TU. So now I have a red, 2 purples, and a yellow, but I've subtracted out a purple, so I've got just 1 red, 1 purple, and 1 yellow, which is equal to the second line, which is SV. So now I have an equation. If I take the value of SU and add it to the value of TV and subtract out the value of TU, I end up with SV, because I'll end up with 1 red on both sides of the equation, 2 purples minus 1 purple is 1 purple on both sides of the equation, and 1 yellow on both sides of the equation. So that was the hard part. Now that I have it, now it's just easy. Now I can just substitute the values in. So SU, as it says in my equation, in my diagram, is just x plus 23. TV, if I add that to that, it's going to be 2x plus 35. Now I subtract out my TU, which is 2x plus 28, And that whole thing equals, from my diagram, SV, which is 18. So now it's just algebra. I just have to solve it out. So I first make sure to distribute my negative, right? It's minus the quantity of 28 plus, I'm sorry, 2x plus 28. So that's going to be minus 2x minus 28. Now I can just combine my like terms, isolate x, and I've got x equals negative 12. Okay. But this problem isn't asking what x is, it's asking me to find SU, which is right there. What is SU? SU is this red one plus the purple one. Or for our purposes, what's more relevant is the fact that it's x plus 23. So if I put in the value of x as negative 12, put them together, I figured out that SU is 11.